I can't believe it. Fast food workers in Los Angeles are celebrating their unemployment. They're celebrating how they're going to be getting laid off, fired, losing their jobs, terminated, or at least likely to be in the near future. Los Angeles area fast food workers celebrated their $20 an hour wage, their increase on Friday, on the heels of the statewide industry mandated increase. The pay hike for California fast food workers went into effect April 1st. And no, this wasn't an April Fool's joke. It is the highest minimum wage across the U.S. restaurant industry. It's actually kind of funny because I saw a post this morning. It was from the New York Post, and they shared in this post, I don't know how many times I can say post, but they shared in this post, which I thought I had a screenshot of it, but maybe I didn't. I'll pull it up so you guys can see it. But they shared in this post that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, his restaurant was only paying $16 an hour. Now, the new mandated law is requiring the minimum wage to be increased to $20 an hour for specific restaurants. And can you guess which restaurants are excluded? Yeah, be that as it may, there was a celebration rally outside of a McDonald's in LA, in Los Angeles, where all these people, all these workers showed up, and one of them said that the pay increase takes a big weight off of his shoulders. So how many of you would like to get a pay raise? How many of you would like to see an increase in your pay? And if you could receive $20 an hour as a minimum wage, would it take a huge weight off of your shoulders? Quote, "It's amazing just to be able to know that I can live, like I can afford to have a place to stay right now and keep food in my fridge. But I will say, be careful about that food in your fridge, especially if you're buying from Aldi, because Aldi is apparently selling this tainted mutant chicken, and everybody's going to get sick." Be that as it may, the new law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom last fall requires that fast food chains with 60 or more locations nationwide pay their workers at least $20 an hour. And this means that the state's 553,000 fast food workers will now earn more than the state's $16 minimum wage for all other industries. Are we going to see folks quitting their jobs, leaving other industries to get hired on at McDonald's and Wendy's and Chipotle to make $4 more per hour? I mean, if you work a 40-hour week, then that's another $160. Who could use another $160 per week right now? It would make you richer, much like Mark Zuckerberg here, who is now the third richest. His net worth jumped and his wealth tops Elon Musk. But we've got so much more to discuss. A showdown pits owners of second homes against full-time residents. The IRS is targeting middle-class taxpayers for audits after an $80 billion infusion. Analysts call BRICS a superpower. And we're seeing Sarasota Tim's personal finance advice sinking in as Gen Z and millennials aren't saving for retirement anymore. Hey guys, welcome back. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't be a hater. And in return, I want to give you guys a little thank you. And here's a clip of some baby goats. So the New York Times says that a showdown pits owners of second homes against full-time residents. The pandemic upset a delicate balance of part-time and full-time residents in the community in the Poconos, sparking a debate over short-term rentals. The Hideout, a gated community in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, had long operated under an unspoken covenant. Whether by choice or by circumstance, the second homeowners deferred to the needs of full-time residents, a core 900 or so households. But in 2020, the front platers, a pejorative for New Yorkers and New Jerseyans whose cars bear license plates on the front and in addition to the rear, started to come in droves, lured to the area by a perfect storm, low interest mortgage rates, or a new work from home normal. What happened next remains a fight in Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court, and many new Hideout homeowners bought their second home with a plan to subsidize their mortgage or earn passive income by renting short-term on sites like Airbnb and VRBO. Unlike many new communities, the Hideout had codified the right of homeowners to rent out their places to vacationers long before the popularity of these short-term rental websites. But by February of 2022, the Hideout's 7-member Homeowners Association board declared that the Hideout was fully residential. This move was made in response to a Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision to outlaw short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, and by June of that year, residents voted 1,406 to 988 to limit short-term rentals to 10 times per calendar year. The amendment was supposed to go into effect in January of 2023, but it was suspended due to pending litigation and on the advice of counsel. According to the Hideout's website, and the amendment in limbo in pending court case have caused confusion and hurt feelings. The debate over short-term rentals sparked social media fights, at least one ejection from a meeting, and the hiring of security officers to escort the leaders of the Homeowners Association. When asked for an interview about short-term rentals at the Hideout, Larry Froughton, the community manager, said in a phone call that the board did not comment on ongoing litigation. And this is not just isolated to the Poconos. This just happens to be one of many stories in a series coming up of changes that are going to be happening in response to the housing market, housing affordability, housing shortage, home price crash debacle, and government intervention. And a lot of folks who thought that they were going to have great opportunities of creating additional income, revenue streams, and passive income and building wealth through real estate and short-term rentals are going to be sadly, that dream is going to quickly become and turn into a nightmare. And these properties are likely going to go sold on the MLS for, whether or not the buyers bring their agents or not, and they earn commission, that's to be determined. But these will ultimately become distressed properties, and they're going to sell at a loss. And this is literally going to be a pivotal change in the housing market as we know it. But it's par for the course, right? Because everybody's broke. And one of the reasons why everybody's broke is because the government steals our money. And this next story is actually not even the government. It's a completely separate entity, and it's the IRS. Irwin R. Shyster, the Internal Revenue Service, and back in August of 2022, when some of us were fresh-faced and naive, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, assured us that their $80 billion infusion of cash over the course of a decade so that they could hire some more of their 87,000 new workers, including but not limited to men with guns and quite possibly women, and maybe even under the current Biden administration, just individuals, would actually be a means of targeting millionaire and billionaire scofflaws. I don't even know what a scofflaw is. Not ordinary middle-class earners. And at the time, skepticism was voiced. Correspondence, audits, and other audits on low and middle income earners are simply the easiest to conduct, and the IRS has historically spent an awful lot of time targeting these groups and not the money tax dodgers who can hire teams of accountants. So why would this time be any different? So yeah, there's that. You're probably going to get audited, and quickly too, before the US dollar crashes and we see a total banking failure and banks collapse in this crisis that we should all be getting ready and prepared for. As analysts calls BRICS a superpower, the BRICS alliance is looking to uproot the US dollar's hegemony. I don't know which one it is. Hegemony, and replace it with local currencies. The bloc wants to stop using the US dollar to settle cross-border transactions, and is aiming to push local currencies ahead. BRICS wants to become a superpower and challenge the US and other Western allies in the global financial sphere. Not to mention, experts say that BRICS is a superpower in the energy sector. But wait, there's more, because this retirement savings crisis is rapidly approaching, and it'll be here before you know it, with Gen Z and millennial workers refusing to save for retirement. But hey, who cares? Because it's China. Business Insider says that China faces a reckoning as disillusioned Gen Z and millennial workers refuse to save for retirement. But I'd be willing to bet that extends here to the United States. Meanwhile, Illinois restaurant workers lobby against proposal ending sub-minimum wage, and the bill passes the committee. A bill in the Capitol to end the sub-minimum wage is moving forward despite protests from several restaurant owners and tipped staff. Tipped workers, like waitstaff at restaurants, can be paid a lower minimum wage in Illinois at $8.40 per hour. so long as their tips make up the difference. Democratic lawmakers have worked on a bill eliminating the sub-minimum wage to ensure tipped workers can get the same minimum wage, and on Wednesday the bill passed the Illinois House Labor Committee with a 17-11 vote. And while we're on the subject and topic of minimum wage, let's go back to California and extrapolate this situation, as we have went from California to Illinois, and this is just the beginning, folks, as I've mentioned before, and many others have as well, that this is going to reach multiple other states, if not every state for that matter. And we're going to compare how California's minimum wage compares to other states today, right now, before the change, with the introduction of a $20 baseline hourly wage specifically for fast food workers on Monday. California has cemented itself as having among the highest minimum wages. As of April 1, people working for franchises with 60 or more locations nationwide will be automatically eligible for the new rate, up from the $16 statewide minimum instituted in January. And this means workers in outlets that don't count as restaurants or bakeries will see their pay packets increased by as much as 25% overnight. That's a huge bump. That's a huge boost. Now, it's funny because this boost, this 25% increase, which most people normally see like a 2 or 3% performance boost in their income annually, and this is after already being bumped up to $16 in January. But now the question is, well, what happens next year and the year after that? And odds are you're not going to see an increase for quite some time as these restaurants try and recover and rebound from this devastating financial blow and hit to their bottom line. But the fast food specific minimum wage is the first of its kind at a state level in the US so far. Keywords, so far. Workers in California outside of the fast food industry already benefit from nearly the highest minimum wage in the country, second only to the $16.28 minimum in Washington State and $17 in Washington, D.C. And we've got a map here, you guys can see that. But California's minimum wage has been steadily increasing from $10 in 2017 and last increased from $15.50 in January of 2024. Now, the question is, how many cities and countries and counties have set their own minimum wages above the statewide baseline to account for a locally higher cost of living, meaning in many places that fast food worker minimum wage hike will be less substantial. That's important there, folks. And according to figures maintained by the University of California, Berkeley, the minimum wage in West Hollywood is already $19.08, while in San Francisco it's $18.07. While proponents of the new minimum wage, the product of a compromise between unions and industry figures, according to the Associated Press, argue it will improve the economic situation of some of California's lowest paid workers, business owners have warned that the pay hikes could have a knock-on impact on menu prices at a time when the cost of living remains a concern for many. They mention how even though Pizza Hut announced in December that it was laying off its in-house delivery drivers ahead of the minimum wage rise, experts have suggested that major wage hikes tended not to lead to greater unemployment, but could see decreases in employees' working hours. It's coming, folks. It's happening. Here's a picture of In-N-Out Burger. Now, it says that states such as Arizona, Colorado, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Oregon, and Rhode Island have instituted minimum wages of $14 or more, while several states have adopted the same minimum wage as the federal rate of $7.25 an hour, and others have no minimum rate, such as Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi, or a minimum wage below the federal amount, Georgia and Wyoming, in which case the federal minimum applies. In some states, different minimum wages are in place depending on the size of the employer. And for instance, in Ohio, companies with revenue in excess of $385,000 a year must pay $10.45 an hour, while those with smaller takings must offer the federal rate. These are important things to know, not just as a worker and an employee and quite possibly a consumer, as we see here these different minimum wages in different states, but these are important to know as a business owner if you're thinking about investing in or buying or starting up or entering into a franchise of a restaurant or something like that. But odds are we're going to see these states following suit, increasing their minimums. We'll then see increased menu prices, further burden to our cost of living, with some folks actually relying on fast food restaurants as a staple, a necessity, and it being more cost effective and time efficient to feed their family from Popeyes or KFC rather than going to the grocery store and getting some of that mutant chicken from Aldi. But be that as it may, even if these companies don't lay off their staff like Pizza Hut did, which I'm sure many will, they will reduce hours, and hours, or a reduction in hours, will hurt. So right now I'll be thinking, well, how can I protect myself? How can I better prepare? How can I supplement my income and almost quite possibly replace it altogether if I had to? And I can't lie, guys, that this is one of those opportunities. So if you want to know more, feel free to reach out, contact me, hit me up, and let's get started. My info is in the description down below. Thanks for watching.